Hello, we are the three CommentEARS. Welcome to our commentary for Peter Pan. I'm Albert Gutierrez.
And I'm Pep.
And I'm Kelvin Cedeno. Now this introduction right here, it's interesting that the whole shadow motif is kind of carried throughout the film. We're introduced to the Darling family through their shadows and silhouettes. And that actually is true of everybody except for Wendy. Instead of being introduced to her through her silhouette or shadow, they save her shadow for the end of her scene, which you'll see in a moment.
Do you think that's intentional since Peter Pan comes back looking for his shadow?
Oh, I definitely think it is, yes. Because the use of shadows here are more prominent than in other Disney films, I've noticed.
But right now we're going to have the wonderful moment where Michael and John meet Peter Pan.
Yay.
And just look at Michael's eyes right there. Yeah. He's got these big wide eyes. He's so amazed and so filled with wonderment for who this stranger is. And then John, he has to put in his glasses. Poor guy. Glasses are cool though.
They are.
I remember this scene being played out extensively during those Disney Channel Christmas specials.
Oh, yes. I mean, this whole sequence is obviously, you know, the, as you call it, Pap, the it moment for the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And here we have the pirates. And the pirates, the ones in this sequence actually do have names. Not all of them, but a few. The one in the green shirt is Black Murphy. The short red-headed one is Jukes. The large guy in the pink shirt is Starkey. And then the one with the black mustache and the stripes is the Turk.
See, I knew about Starkey because there's that wonderful moment later in the movie. But I didn't know the others had names.
Mm-hmm. And those are all taken from the book. You know, the descriptions don't exactly match, but...
And this is another brutal scene. They know that they're children flying, and the first thing that they do is try to fire the cannons at them. Well, of course, they're pirates. They have to be brutal or ambitious.
Yeah, this is true menace right here.
Yeah, I would dare say that Hook is probably one of the more violent, if you think about it, Disney villains.
Because he's literally wishing death on this guy, and he's actively pursuing it. He's not like the evil queen. He's not going to just poison Peter Pan. Well, not in this version anyway.
I was going to say, you know.
Sorry.
But I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm. But he's taking steps to kill Peter Pan in the most graphic way possible. And if that's not a villain, I don't know what is.
Exactly.
Maybe that's why one of the reasons why Captain Hook is one of the most famous and popular of the Disney villains. He's able to be comedic and really charismatic, but at the same time be really vicious and ruthless.
Yeah, in many ways he appeals to, you know, both demographics of villain lovers, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
This is John's moment of truth, so to speak.
Yes.
He thinks he's the one that's smarter than everyone. He thinks he's the one that knows how to plan everything. Everything he describes, the Indians are doing. And it shows that even though he says they're cunning but not intelligent, he's the one that's not intelligent at all.
Poor John.
And the best thing is he's realizing that he's too big for his britches. And so getting captured is actually what humbles him greatly. He takes responsibility for it all.
That's a good point. I never really thought of it that way. That's good character development for John.
Mm-hmm.
And they even got the bear.
Poor Teddy.
I can't remember. Do you remember when they took down Skull Rock, or if it's still there?
They already took it down when I did some research of that, because I saw pictures of Skull Rock and the Jolly Roger in the middle of Fantasyland. If I'm not mistaken, what I heard was that, what I read was that it was a restaurant. It was a restaurant that you would come in, eat, etc. And I believe sometime in the 70s and 80s they took it down, because by that point the layout that they have now was basically the one that was then, because if you guys remember, in the middle of the 80s they did all of Fantasyland, they redid everything, they changed the attractions, they updated it, and the Fantasyland that we have now is still the update that we got in the 80s. Peter Pan tells him that he's a codfish.
Right.
Well, that scene is funny. In the Spanish version is hilarious, because the Spanish word for codfish is bacalao.
Oh,
it sounds
yeah.
way funnier than codfish. In my opinion.
Bacalao.
Bacalao.
Yeah, it's a, now, say you a bacalao. Especially at the very end of the movie, they have him yelling that he's a catfish.
Oh yeah, and they all start cheering.
That scene is so funny in Spanish because
Que es un
bacalao.
bacalao.
Un bacalao, Scorpio. If I'm not mistaken, he was also the one that did the voice of one of the Maleficent's henchmen in Sleeping Beauty, and he also did the voice of the alligator on Robin Hood, where he says, "Attention all ushers."
Oh, and he says, "And all the cradles." That one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He was also one of the apple trees in The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, wow. See, I hadn't seen Little Wizard of Oz in a while. Well, you know, and I don't like defending political incorrectness, but when we think about Neverland as a whole, everything there is a fantasy.
This is true.
The pirates are a fantasized version of what a child would go up against. The mermaids are a fantasized version of the way you would interact with them. And Indians, at the time, they would fantasize that they were just some savage that you can just shoot in a game of cowboys and Indians. And so they're playing true to the fantasy. They're not playing true to history.
Right.
This is a fantasy that they're portraying. That doesn't.
Yeah,
make
these
it
aren't
right,
any particular, group of Native Americans. They're not even Native Americans.
Yeah.
They're Native
Exactly.
Neverlandians. So.
Yeah. So it doesn't make the portrayal right. It's just.
I can see where they're coming
sense
from.
in
Yeah,
the context.
exactly. But yeah, Hook was the character it seems like every animator wanted to do, because he was so over the top and fun. I know Milk Call in particular was really bummed out he didn't get the part.
Well, wasn't Milk Call always upset that he never got a good villain?
Yes, that's why he tried to relish Medusa as much as he could when he finally got to her in The Rescuers.
Yeah.
Usually he was assigned to the lead characters because, out of all of them, I would say, Milk Call probably was the best draftsman. He was very subtle and realistic when it came to animation, so he was always assigned to characters like Peter and Philip. But he hated them because he found them absolutely boring. He had nothing to do with them.
Yeah. Well, you see, for the audience's benefit, it was a great thing that he got them.
Exactly.
They are really well animated. It's just, from an animator's point of view, that would be kind of frustrating to get the ones that are not as exciting to do as a villain.
Right. But yeah, Milt was very, very vocal about, his annoyance at the assignments.
If I'm not mistaken, was it Catherine Beaumont singing or somebody else?
It's Catherine Beaumont, and what a huge difference from Alice, because
That's
when
what
she
I was,
sang...
that was what I was to
definitely.
say. When you go to Alice in Wonderland, when she's singing, "Ain't in a world of my own," she's kind of like breaking her voice. That she,
Oh, like in Golden Afternoon.
Exactly. Yeah, they wrote "In a World of My Own" as simply as possible to suit her voice.
I'm able to accept it because this is a young child about to enter this whole world, new world, and you don't expect her to be like a Leah Salonga or Jodie Benson when she's about to sing. So I always found it to be natural and worked in a way.
It suited the film, yeah.
Michael, of course not. Surely you haven't forgotten our real...
You see how Wendy is buttoning up Michael
Mm-hmm.
and everything? And later on she's going to wipe away his war paint.
Oh my gosh, I was gonna say that. I already know what you're getting at.
She never wipes away the war paint on his belly button.
That always
So
annoyed
as a
me.
child, I always figured, oh my gosh, when Michael's going to change out of his clothes in the morning,
Exactly.
he's going to see that and he's going to, oh, this all really happened. And I was like, that would be the most amazing feeling ever, to realize that wonderful adventure you had last night was real.
Exactly. I love the animation right here of Wendy and Michael. It's very subtle, and this was actually done by Milk Call himself.
Especially when she like brushes his hair away.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a very touching moment there.
And like I said,
I
very
think-
underrated.
Yeah, poor Kathy, when she did the live-action reference, her experiences actually reflected that. She said between the two films, Peter Pan was a lot easier for her to do. Number one, she was interacting with other humans, and two, she was doing simpler things because she was a supporting character. For Alice's live-action reference, they were putting her through all kinds of crazy contraptions and almost torture devices because of all the things that Alice herself was getting into in the film.
Now, while they're fighting, I thought it'd be cool if we discussed some of the other Disney movies and shorts that came out in 1953. I have a list here.
Oh,
if you
sure.
If you guys don't mind. Well, Peter Pan was the animated film, obviously.
Right.
But the live-action films that came out, we had The Sword and the Rose, which was their costume drama
Yes.
that came out in July, and then later on, Rob Roy, The Highland Road, which is based on the history, came out later on that year. Now, Sword and the Rose, Rob Roy, and story of Robin Hood were all they're called the three historicals by Disney because they were all shot in England around the same time. Two of them by Ken Anakin.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find. I can't find the. Oh wait, here it is. Yeah, Bear Country was a 2-reel short from True Life Adventures, and it was attached to Peter Pan in its theatrical run. They both came out to theaters February 5th. And for anyone that likes there's a lot of different cartoons that came out, but my favorite ones that came out that year were Melody, which was an Adventures in Music short.
That's a classic
anyone
one.
Anyone that's seen sing-along songs, they've already seen Melody, and they've already seen Toot Whistle Plunk and Boom.
Right.
Both of those came out this year. Melody was in Academy. Toot Whistle Plunk and Boom was in CinemaScope.
It's interesting that those shorts came around the same time that UPA was gaining a little bit of popularity with the art style. And then you see Disney trying to emulate that. And on top of that, they try to incorporate new technology. With Melody, they try to do 3D, whereas in Toot Clock Whistle and Boom, they did the widescreen.
CinemaScope.
Yeah,
the
CinemaScope.
widescreen.
Yeah.
See, now this is a Peter Pan costume I would wear.
I do like
Look
that.
at that
It's
hat,
a good look on
look
him.
Look at that jacket.
I do like this scene because it's for once Peter is actually acknowledging Wendy's presence.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about to get another It moment right here.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Another It
Even
moment.
though if you think about it, how does that actually happen? How can the ship have a happy thought?
It's a ship. Of course, it's happy. May the wind be at its back.
Well, right now, Peter Pan is a captain, and he has the shirtness, so maybe it's happy.
Yeah, I'd be happy if Peter Pan were my captain.
I wouldn't mind.
Me neither. The movie isn't one of my favorites, but it's still a movie that every time that I watch, I really enjoy. I really like the characters, I really like the scenes, and the music is a little bit underrated. It's a classic. There's no denying that it's a classic.
There are really no rules in Neverland. It can do whatever it wants, and you don't question it. And I love that it taps in that sense of wonder and whimsy of childhood. It may not have the most heart of a Disney film, which is probably why Walt wasn't too fond of it, but I still think there's enough spirit in it, especially at the end, right here that we're watching. It really taps into something in your subconscious.
And now as an adult, when I watch the film, I'm yearning for that childhood to come back, even though it's a lifetime away. So when I watch Peter Pan now, it's my most tangible connection to a childhood. And unlike other Disney movies, this is the only one that really transports me back to being 5 years old and putting that VHS into the VCR. And it's a power beyond nostalgia. It takes me to a mental Neverland where I'm still a child and I still wish I can fly.
And that right there, I would say, is Disney in a nutshell, represented in this film.
Yes.
And with that, thank you all for listening to our commentary for Walt Disney's Peter Pan. Again, this is Kelvin Cedeno.
And I'm Pap.
And I'm Albert, and may you all have a magical day.